I'm gonna just relay a few environmental facts because it's my, at least, opinion, and I think I can back it up, that both capitalism and communism are anachronisms. They're old ideas that apply to different world circumstances that no longer exist. All right, population, resource crunches, things like that, that we're all coming to a head with right now. I mean, I don't know if you're aware, but we essentially eat petroleum in this country. For every 1 calorie of food that you eat, 10 calories of petroleum were used to produce that 1 calorie. That's a losing system. And we're destroying the topsoil of the nation by plugging it full of petroleum products, fertilizers, pesticides all the time. And this is all agribusiness. This does tie back into Occupy Wall Street because the financial institutions support large, they support the corporate model, which supports pushing small farms out of the way and promoting large agribusinesses, which use this highly intensive green revolution model, which is entirely based on petroleum. Tractors run on petroleum, crop dusters run on petroleum, fertilizers and pesticides are made from petroleum and natural gas. The food is shipped on trucks. The average piece of food in this country is shipped 1,500 miles before it ever reaches your plate. That's on a diesel truck. We are essentially eating oil because we've allowed the oil companies, the automobile companies, to create an architecture in the society of suburbia where the cities are here, suburbia's here, the food's over here, and everything is transported back and forth using petroleum from one place to another. And now they've globalized that. The shirt most of you are going to be wearing is going to be made in Bangladesh or India or China. So what's it do? How does it get here? They put it on a freight liner that's powered with petroleum, and they send it around the world. The only reason they do that, of course, is because they can pay a worker in one of those countries a fucking fraction of what they would pay you. They're going to give them $2 a day. So screw that. They'll pay for the gas to ship that thing over here, and then it's going to land in a port in Oakland or Seattle or New York, and then it's going to get on a diesel truck and go to your Walmart and BFE. But anyway, back to the facts that I wanted to kind of just relay environmentally. 90% of the large fish in the oceans have been overfished and are gone. They're not coming back. There are 2 garbage patches. There's one in the Pacific, one in the Atlantic. These are floating islands of plastic trash that are both larger than the state of Texas. Now there is plastic out there from like the 50s. This is stuff that was thrown on the streets in Los Angeles or Tokyo. The rain washed it out, and it's been circulating in a spiral in the Pacific, or now also the Atlantic, for 50, 60 years. These things slowly break down and enter the food chain. The fish that are there, the small life forms, they eat that, it goes in them, and it multiplies up the food chain until it's eventually fished and fed to you. This is why the cancer rate is so high, because we've toxified the entire landscape. Cancer was virtually unknown before the industrial world sort of came about. Now, of course, cancer was named in ancient Greece. It does exist in plants, sure, but the breast cancer rate in women used to be about 1 in a million back in the late 1800s. What's it now? I mean, in the 50s it was up to like 1 in 100,000. Now it's something like 1 in 1,000. The cancer rate in this country is 1 in 3 now. The answer to the cancer problem is not more money for the medical industry. It's to stop putting poison in the environment. It's to make corporations not be allowed to profit by poisoning us all. There are places in the ocean that have more plastic than phytoplankton. Phytoplankton is not only a basis for the food chain in the ocean, but for giving us oxygen to breathe. The ocean is becoming acidified, basically because the carbon goes up in the air after we burn it, and then the ocean pulls it back down and sequesters it for us. The problem is that changes the pH of the ocean, and what that ends up doing is killing off larger fish species, and it's actually going to there are those who warn that an ocean that is far too acidic will keep crustaceans from being able to form shells that will destroy the food chain. 95% of the old-growth forests in North America are gone. Now, a lot of people, when logging is brought up, they try to tell you there's more trees now than there have been in 100 years, but what they miss is that tree farms aren't forests. Forests are diverse ecosystems that support life. Tree farms are not. That's like trying to compare a cornfield to a functioning savanna. One is a natural biosphere, one's an industry. There is dioxin in the breast milk of every mammal on planet Earth now. And that's not just around cities. If you go up to the Arctic, polar bears, the Eskimo people, the Inuit people who live up in the Arctic, who have absolutely no exposure directly to our way of life, they have dioxin in their breast milk. Whales, dolphins. Same thing. There are industrial fire retardants in all of our bloodstreams. The amount of these things doubles every 2 to 5 years in North Americans. These are chemicals that were created for a long time. They were found to be dangerous. Some people stopped producing them. There were some regulations against them, but it's too late. These things are accumulating in our bloodstreams and doubling every 2 to 5 years. Again, the toxicity of our environment is what is going to give us cancer and other ailments and kill us. Cancers like pancreatic cancer. If you look at the industrial food process, there's a color fixative in every processed red meat called sodium nitrite. The World Cancer Institute collected over 100 studies, over 1,000 studies about this particular food additive and found that it is not safe for human consumption. It's not like, okay, eat Oscar Mayer hot dogs once in a while, just eat it in moderation. No, it is not fit for human consumption. It causes stomach, pancreatic cancer, cancer from the lower digestive tract. Every day on planet Earth, do you know how many species go extinct every day? Does anyone know? Between 200 and 300. Every single day. Today, tomorrow, the next day, yesterday. Now, of course, this isn't just fuzzy things that we see in our daily lives like squirrels and things. It's fungus, it's plants, it's insects. But 200 to 300 species, that's not normal, that's not evolution happening. That is industrial human society killing the planet. And if we want to be a species that believes in things like having children and grandchildren and existing, we can't destroy the resource base on which we live. Which is going to bring me to my final point. The needs of the natural world outweigh the needs of the economic system. Because without the natural world, there is no economic system. We can sit here and try to pretend that we need jobs now, and that's more important than having active forests or healthy oceans, but it's not. Because killing the world that your children are going to need to live in, or even the world that we're going to need to live in a handful of years, is not worth saving a corporation, or a bank account, or an investment, or even a nation.
I want to speak to the whole mentality of capitalism and all that. Real quick, that mentality holds certain truths to be infallible, okay? I saw a dude walk right through here, okay? Corporate guy, you know, he had his Nautica clothes on, whatever. We talked to him. He said that goods and services are infinite. Okay, all right, that's cool. So goods and services are infinite. Yeah, that's wonderful, sir. So what about the trees? Are they infinite? Can we just cut them all down and they just continue to grow infinitely? No. When we pointed that out to him, what did he do? He laughed. He was smugging. Well, okay, so we get all the trees cut down. All right, fine. What's your point? My point is that your tenet is not infallible, that you're wrong, that you have a philosophical system that you're believing in, and you're dedicating your entire essence to, your flesh, everything about you. You're dedicating it to a system of belief that is destroying the world, okay? Now, this is what we need to do, guys. Those people that think that way, we need to just not worry about convincing them and persuading them and meeting them in the middle and halfway and all this. No. We need to realize that we're sane, okay? And we need to just say, you know what? I don't need to persuade you. I need to just have faith in myself and what I know and what I feel to be true, okay? Because all day long on corporate media, newspapers, all they do is try and make us feel like we're stupid, like we don't know anything about life. And we do. I personally crack open a book every once in a while, and I like to read poetry, and I happen to think that poets are some of the most enlightened beings that have ever come into this world.
I don't know if y'all know, recently announced Bank of America is moving $75 trillion from its Merrill Lynch, I said that right, $75 trillion from its Merrill Lynch subsidiary. And it's going to move it to a FDIC insured, a government insured account. That's going down. And I don't know if you know how much money that is compared to, say, the nation's wealth. But 75 trillion of derivatives, which is what they are. They're not just regular assets. And they're moving them over, basically as we speak. Everybody's kind of, you know, concerned about other things. What's going to happen is Wall Street does have demands for us. Everybody wants to know what Occupy Wall Street's demands are. Maybe we should consider what Wall Street's demands have been and are upon us. It's pretty easy to look back in history the last time Bank of America or Chase Manhattan, JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs had a bunch of bad derivatives, we all bailed them out. And what's going on now again is $75 trillion of your government-backed, FDIC-insured wealth is going to be covering their toxic assets. We can all pretend that that's not going to affect our future, or that isn't going to put demands upon our society, but I'm going to tell you what it's going to be. It's not going to be that they're going to leave schools open to cover those toxic derivatives. That's not what it's going to be. It's not going to be that they're going to keep our social safety net alive after that crumbles, and it will. It's pretty easy to look at almost any analysis globally, even nationally. You can see across the globe they're putting in through these austerity measures. Were actually developed here from America through the University of Chicago, Milton Friedman. It's called neoliberalism. These jobs aren't going to come back until we start accepting what the Wall Street wants, and that's third world wages. Because we've been doing this and treating other countries like this for decades. If we really take a look at what's in our clothes and what's on the label, they don't just come from a country. This cell phone and our electronics don't just come from coltan from Africa. They come from what Wall Street has demanded the wage conditions from that nation be, just like blood diamonds. You can look up that PlayStation 3 was suspended in its delivery because they just couldn't get enough suppression to get those minerals out of the ground. And that's what Wall Street's demands are. If you want to know what the free market truly is about, the free market is that you and I as a nation state have no ability to provide and support for the lesser amongst us. Mussolini had called it corporatism, and then it became known as fascism. And we're on the cusp of that. And austerity will always pick the wealthiest winners. It will divide and conquer amongst those without voices. That's one of the reasons why we are here. What we buy and what we eat, you know, every time we enjoy a cup of cocoa or chocolate, it comes from the Ivory Coast. Those don't come from nowhere. The history of bananas isn't just banana shakes and fun times. It's part of it's united fruit. Part of it, there's a lot of blood, and the color of Coca-Cola's red. It's true. They happen to kill some of the most union workers throughout South America, and people walking by may hear that, and it may get in their mind a little bit. And I sat here last night. I've been through GAs for a few weeks now, and every now and then you see somebody walk by and maybe they don't know, you know, what we've done, what we've become. We're a very passive-aggressive nation. You know, I'm not sure everybody knows how many bases we have overseas. You know, how much we pay for that, really. You know, about black budgets. You know, all these talk about budgets and shared sacrifice. You know, it always seems to be that we accept kind of the mental notion that that's going to be the least amongst us are going to be the first targeted, and that those who have the money and the power to lobby upon their efforts, that's freedom for them. And it never turns out that way. They've been doing this for decades through these market systems. And these are Wall Street's demands for us.
And I want to read the constitutional amendment. This would be the 28th Constitution amendment in our Constitution that was presented at Occupy Wall Street 3 days ago. It's very short. Here's what it says. 28th Amendment. Corporations are not people. They have none of the constitutional rights of human beings. Corporations are not allowed to give money to any politician directly or indirectly. No politician can raise over $100 from any single person or entity. All elections must be publicly financed.
First, they ignore you. Then they laugh at you. Then they fight you. Then you win. I heard them say the revolution won't be televised. Al Jazeera proved them wrong. Twitter has them paralyzed.